Dear students, welcome you all for the second session of the second chapter of financial management, that is working capital management. So in this chapter we are going to discuss various factors affecting working capital. So my presentation will be on various factors determining the size of working capital. So let us directly discuss what are the various factors affecting working capital. So size of the working capital is determined by various factors. What is the actual size or what is the correct size of working capital that has to maintain by the organization? So this is a fundamental question. So whether it should not be more, should not be excess, or it should not be short. There should not be any shortage. So it should be in between. It should be ideal size. So if there is excess, what happens is you are simply wasting your resources instead of keeping it in various investments. If there is shortage, that is also dangerous for the organization because you are not able to meet your obligations. So that's why for every organization it is important, or it is fundamental, to determine the actual size of the working capital. So what are the factors which affect in determining the size of the working capital? Let us discuss one by one. The first one, nature of business. So this is the first factor. So what is your nature of the business? Whether it is manufacturing, whether it is a service enterprise, whether it is an agriculture related enterprise, whether it is a processing enterprise, whether it is a FMCG enterprise, what is the nature of the business? So based on the nature of the business, your size of the capital, working capital, is determined. So if your nature of the business is something called construction company or manufacturing company, usually the company organization require huge working capital because they have to buy raw material and so many expenses are there. If it is your service company, for example, a restaurant, for example, a hotel, they require very less working capital because they need not spend much on raw material and other expenses. So based on the nature of the business, size of the working capital is determined. Second one, size of business. So based on the nature, you determine the size of the business. So size of the business can be a large scale operation or a small scale company. A company can be a large scale operating company or small scale operating company. So either of the, or medium company. So if the scale of the operation is large, okay, if you're producing at large, if you have the capacity to produce larger products, then definitely require more working capital. If the size of the business is very small, scale of operation is very small, then automatically you require less working capital. You need not keep huge working capital to produce very little products or very few products. So this is based on the size of the business. Next one, operating cycle. So what is operating cycle? So cycle means here time taken to convert your raw materials into finished goods and finally output in the form of sales. So it is a gap between the purchase of raw materials and the production of finished goods. So a company may take 15 days, company may take 10 days, company may take 1 month, company may take 6 months or 1 year also as an operating cycle. That means you purchase raw materials, you do the work in progress, or you process of conversion into finished goods, may take long time, and after converting it's finished into finished goods, you have to sell it. So it is an operating cycle. So a company may take larger time or smaller time. If it is a shorter cycle, then you require smaller will be the working capital. If the operating cycle is huge, then you require larger working capital. Why? Because if the operating cycle is very short period, you need to have only that much resources, that much money, and your obligations also will be very less. You need not spend more on expenses. But if your operating cycle is huge, that means you have to spend more amount on labor, you have to spend more amount on direct expenses, stock, inventory, and so many other things. So definitely you require more working capital. Then credit policy of the firm. So company will have a credit policy. So what is that credit policy? So that means when you sell your goods, you give some credit period. So if the credit period given to the debtors, okay, those who purchase your products are called as debtors. If that credit period is huge or if it is long, then definitely for that long period you will not have any money. So you need to have more working capital. If the credit period is small, okay, for example, say 5 days, 10 days, then you need not have more working capital, because immediately after 5 days or 10 days your money will come back. So you require only less working capital. Then operating efficiency of the firm. So if the operating efficiency means what here? So operating efficiency means here your entire organization is able to produce or able to convert the raw material into finished goods with the minimum time, with the minimum cost, with maximum benefits, then definitely you require less working capital. But if your operating efficiency is not so good, you take more time, you require more expenses, then definitely you require more working capital. Then profit margin and dividend policy. So what is profit margin here? So when you sell the product, you have to keep some percentage as a profit margin. So when the profit margin is large, for example, if it is 30%, 50%, that means you get more money into your account. Okay, if the profit margin is very small, say for example 10%, you get very less or minimum amount. So that means you require more working capital. Same policy for the dividend also. If you declare, if the dividend policy, if the dividend is large, for example, out of 100 rupees profit, if you declare 60% as dividend, so what is remaining for you is only 40. So that means you need to have another 60% or more working capital. If the dividend is very small, for example, out of 100 you declare only 10 rupees as dividend, then you have 90 rupees balance in your account. So that means you require less working capital. Then expansion and growth. So working capital, size of the working capital is also determined based on the expansion and growth. If the company is longing for expansion, if it is continuously invest its money for expansion and also growth in the form of maybe increasing the product lines or increasing the number of products, then definitely it requires more working capital, because you are expanding the capacity to produce, you are expanding in terms of number of products. So definitely your production capacity, everything increases, all the cost increases, you require more capital. Then loans and credit facilities. If the company is easily, our company can easily get the credit from the banks or financial institutions or non-financial institution or non-banking financial institution, then definitely they need not have large amount of money in the form of working capital, because whenever there is a shortage, they can immediately approach a bank and get the loan. So if the credit facilities are easily available without any difficulty, without any large documentation work, then definitely they require less working capital. Then taxation policy. So if the company is paying huge amount of taxes, for example, if the company tax today in India is around 35%, 25% for less than 400 crore. If the, for I say for example, if the tax company is paying 40% tax, then you are remain with only 60% amount. So that time you require more working capital. If the tax is very less, for example 10% or 15%, you say, you require less working capital, because you have more amount of money remained with you. Then technology requirement. So when nowadays many companies or many organizations go for modernization, they go for investment in technology. So when they invest in technology, what happens? So they require more money. They require more money. But that is a long-term capital. So when you invest more amount on work technology, your work becomes automation. That means you require very less number of people, less time, less cost to convert your operating cycle, because everything is automized. So that time, whatever the expenses that you were spending, that will be reduced, and you require less working capital. So that is the effect of technology on working capital. So that's all from this session. Thank you for watching this video.